In a region that much of the world would struggle to accurately locate on a map, Uzbekistan is quietly developing a $30 billion urban megaproject called New Tashkent. Located just 20 kilometers from the current capital, an entirely new city is being planned to accommodate millions of residents over the coming decades. If you look from above today, the area still appears mostly as vast stretches of land under construction, extending all the way to the horizon. But on the master plans, this same area has already been designed as a city large enough to almost double the size of the existing capital. So why has Uzbekistan decided to build a city on such an unusually large scale? Join Mandarin Tech as we explore the massive construction site that is gradually shaping the future of an entire nation. For decades, Tashkent has been the largest administrative, economic, and population center of Uzbekistan. But after the country gained independence in 1991, the capital's population nearly doubled, forcing the city to build tens of thousands of new apartments every year, along with many new schools and hospitals, just to keep up with rapid growth. Even so, by 2023, Tashkent still ranked near the bottom of global livability rankings. In that context, Uzbekistan needed a much bigger step, not only to reduce population pressure on the existing capital, but also to create a new national image on the global investment map. Especially after the government began opening the economy in 2016 and international investment started increasing year by year, the need for a more modern urban center became more urgent than ever. That was when the idea of building an entirely new city east of Tashkent first began to take shape, a project that is now known as New Tashkent. From the very first planning stages, New Tashkent was not designed as a small satellite district to support the existing capital. Instead, it is a project large enough to reshape the spatial structure of the entire Tashkent metropolitan area for decades to come. The new city will be built on an area of about 25,000 hectares, stretching between the Chirchik and Karasu rivers, roughly 20 kilometers east of the current city center. This area is equal to nearly one-third the size of Singapore, and in practical terms, it would almost double the current urban development footprint of Tashkent. This project is not only about expanding land area, it is also designed to accommodate around 2.5 million additional residents in the future, while the current population of the Tashkent region is already close to 3 million people. That means within a few decades, the entire capital region could grow to more than 7 million residents, turning it into one of the largest urban centers in Central Asia. More importantly, New Tashkent is not planned as a city that will grow gradually over time. From the beginning, it has been designed as a fully integrated urban structure, where residential areas, education infrastructure, transportation systems, and energy networks are planned together within a single master plan. This is the key difference between New Tashkent and most traditional urban expansion projects in the region. New Tashkent is not designed in the usual way cities expand, where residential areas are built first and infrastructure has to catch up later to support them. Instead, the entire structure of the city is planned around one principle: all essential daily needs should be within a short walking distance. This idea is often called the 15-minute city model. In New Tashkent, it is implemented through new residential units known as super mahala, a modern version of Uzbekistan's traditional neighborhoods, which are famous for their courtyard layouts and networks of small interconnected streets. Each super mahala is designed to be about 400 meters wide, which means it takes only a few minutes to walk from one side to the other. Within that distance, residents can access almost all essential daily services. Schools are planned within a radius of about 500 meters, while kindergartens are placed even closer, around 300 meters from residential areas. One notable feature is that transportation inside these neighborhoods does not prioritize private cars. Similar to the superblock model in Barcelona, most private vehicles are kept at the edges of each neighborhood, while the inner spaces are designed mainly for pedestrians, bicycles, and community activities. While the super mahala neighborhoods form the foundation of daily life at the local level, the rest of New Tashkent must solve a much larger challenge: how to keep the entire city operating efficiently as the population grows to millions of residents. Instead of relying entirely on a radial urban layout like many historic cities, or a rigid grid system often seen in modern developments, the planning of New Tashkent combines both approaches. The city keeps a basic grid structure, but adds diagonal roads that cut across city blocks, helping shorten travel distances and improve connectivity between different areas. This solution has already been applied in cities such as Barcelona and Washington, showing that New Tashkent is being designed from the beginning as a city with a flexible and highly connected transportation structure. New Tashkent is also designed to operate alongside a digital copy of the entire city in a real-time data environment, a technology commonly known as a digital twin. This means that everything from street systems and buildings to water supply networks can be continuously monitored during daily operations. As a result, infrastructure problems can be detected early before they develop into major real-world risks. Some cities such as Singapore and Helsinki have already tested this technology on a limited scale. But in the case of New Tashkent, the digital twin is being implemented from the very beginning as part of the city's management structure, allowing it to operate in a fundamentally different way from many other cities in the region. Alongside its data-driven urban management system, New Tashkent is also designed with a citywide canal network running throughout the entire urban area. According to the master plan, residents will be able to walk along canal-side park corridors from one neighborhood to another without needing to cross major traffic routes. About 23% of the city's total area will be dedicated to public green space, a remarkably high figure for a newly built city planned to accommodate millions of residents. This number does not even include the courtyards inside residential neighborhoods and the campus landscapes of universities, which are also required to include their own integrated green areas. It is this continuous structure of waterways, combined with connected park systems, that has led many planners to describe New Tashkent as a Central Asian version of Amsterdam. Even while the project is still at the planning stage, New Tashkent is also planned with the goal of operating almost entirely on renewable energy from the very beginning. According to the plan, solar power systems in the area are expected to provide about 400 megawatts, while upgraded hydropower plants in the Tashkent region are projected to add another 1,200 megawatts to the regional energy network. However, an even more notable energy source comes from something that is rarely discussed: cotton plant residues, an agricultural byproduct that is very common in Uzbekistan. Instead of being treated as waste, this material will be used in trigeneration systems, which can produce electricity, heating, and cooling at the same time within a single integrated operating cycle. This shows that New Tashkent is not only being built as a new city in terms of its physical appearance, but is also being designed as an urban infrastructure system capable of operating reliably on domestic energy sources from the very early stages of its development. As New Tashkent begins to take shape as a completely new metropolitan center, planners are not only focusing on infrastructure, but are also introducing a series of iconic landmark projects intended to establish a distinct identity for the city from the very beginning. The most notable among them is the Twin City Towers, a pair of central towers expected to reach approximately 500 to 75 meters in height, placing them among the tallest buildings in the world and turning them into a defining visual reference point for the entire new urban district. Alongside this project is the Alisher Navoy Center, designed by Zaha Hadid Architects, which integrates locally manufactured brick with a cooling system inspired by traditional wind towers that historically appeared along the Silk Road. In addition, a $250 million water park and resort complex is also being planned as part of the city's service infrastructure, supporting the comprehensive development of the new urban area from its earliest formation stage. Although the scale of New Tashkent often makes it seem like a project that exists only on paper, the first construction phases have already begun in reality. District 1, covering about 6,000 hectares, was approved in 2024 and has become the starting section of the city's overall development plan. Even in this early stage, several land parcels in the area have already been transferred to investors, while basic infrastructure construction has started directly on site. At the same time, Uzbekistan is also launching a large-scale renewable energy expansion program across the entire Tashkent region. By the end of 2028, the region is expected to complete 23 new energy projects with a total capacity of about 2.4 gigawatts, enough to supply electricity to approximately 5 million households. In addition, a metro line connecting New Tashkent with the existing city of Tashkent has already been initiated, while new university campus districts are being built at the same time as residential areas. According to the plan, students could begin studying there as early as 2027, showing that the new city is not only a long-term vision for the future, but is gradually taking shape in the present. Beyond expanding urban space, New Tashkent is also directly connected to a larger issue facing Uzbekistan: the rapidly increasing employment pressure among its young population. Currently, about 55% of young people do not continue their education after completing secondary school, or are unable to find suitable jobs, while around 250,000 new workers enter the labor force each year. Even among university graduates, approximately 90,000 people have not been able to find jobs related to their fields of study. At the same time, Uzbekistan's economy has long depended mainly on traditional industries, which means the creation of new jobs has grown by only about 1% per year, significantly lower than the growth rate of the country's young workforce. For this reason, New Tashkent is not being planned simply as a new urban development project. Instead, it is intended to serve as a long-term economic platform for building new centers of education, services, and employment opportunities for a younger generation that is becoming an increasingly large share of the country's population structure. However, when a city covering 25,000 hectares begins to rise on land that was once used for agriculture, one question almost immediately appears: where will the water come from? Uzbekistan is currently among the countries facing some of the highest water resource pressure in Central Asia. Most of its available water has already been used for agriculture over many decades, especially in cotton-growing regions, which require very large amounts of irrigation. In addition, many of the country's key water sources depend on cross-border river systems, making long-term supply control more limited and uncertain. According to current projections, by 2030, Uzbekistan could face a water shortage of about 15 billion cubic meters per year, an amount large enough to supply a city like New York City for nearly 9 years. For that reason, alongside the ambition to build a new city designed for millions of residents, securing a stable water supply for New Tashkent is becoming one of the most critical challenges that will ultimately determine the project's long-term future. To understand why a project on the scale of New Tashkent has only appeared in recent years, it is necessary to look back at Uzbekistan's position during the decades following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. For a long period, the country followed a relatively cautious and inward-looking development model, with its economy relying mainly on traditional sectors such as agriculture, mining, and basic industry. Limited participation in international investment flows meant that large-scale infrastructure and urban development projects were not considered a strategic national priority. A major turning point began after 2016, when the government launched a series of wide-ranging economic reforms aimed at expanding international trade, liberalizing monetary policy, and gradually improving the investment environment for foreign businesses. These changes quickly helped increase international capital inflows into Uzbekistan to around $4 billion per year, creating an important financial foundation for long-term infrastructure development. Beyond attracting investment, the post-2016 period also marked a shift in how Uzbekistan approached its national development strategy. New urban areas began to be seen as engines of economic growth and tools for reshaping the country's spatial development structure. In this context, New Tashkent is not simply an urban expansion project on the edge of the existing capital, but part of a broader long-term strategy to reposition Uzbekistan on the regional economic map of Central Asia after decades of relatively limited integration. New Tashkent is not just an urban expansion project located on the edge of the existing capital. With an area of 25,000 hectares, a planned population of millions of residents, and ambitions to attract tens of billions of dollars in international investment, it represents one of the most significant efforts to reshape urban development space in Central Asia in recent decades. The city is designed not only to reduce population pressure on Tashkent, but also to create a new urban image for Uzbekistan in the period following its economic opening after 2016. From the super Mahala neighborhood structure, the digital twin management system, and the Canal Network connected with urban parks, to the development of major education hubs and large-scale renewable energy infrastructure, New Tashkent is being planned as a long-term platform for growth over the coming decades. However, behind this ambitious master plan, one important question still remains unresolved. Can a country facing increasing pressure on its water resources truly build what some planners are already calling an Amsterdam of Central Asia in the future? What do you think about the New Tashkent project? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below.